Hello and welcome. Welcome to Divine Awakenings. It is my absolute honor and pleasure to be here with you today. I'm Sherry Nichols, for those of you who are not familiar with me. And I know we have had a lot of new people join our community. And I just want to welcome you again and just say how lovely it is that we are growing, that we are expanding, and that we are becoming a home for healing and for transformation. So today, what we will be looking at in our training today, because again, a reminder that this community is built on three pillars. They are the pillar of divine vision, where we are holding a vision of that life that we would love to be leading. It's about divine renewal, these divine awakening trainings, this renewal of the way we think, of our patterns, of our habits, and of our behaviors. And divine peace, which is so important for us to reach and attain so that we can make wise decisions, right? Really making decisions from a place of empowerment instead of a place of fear, which can happen all too often when we are in a crisis situation, especially one of betrayal or where we feel rejected or where things are crumbling around us. And again, this betrayal, we are focusing on the specifics of it affecting your personal life, your love life, but it can be anything. It can be with a friend, it can be with a coworker, it can be with a family member, it can be with yourself, right? Betraying ourself, which is ultimately one of the biggest betrayals that we have, and we're not always consciously aware of that. So allowing that to come into your awareness so that we can develop more self-love and really a true acceptance of ourself and step more into who we are meant to become in this life that we are living. So today we will be focusing on patience. That is really the emphasis in our training today. And patience it's another fruit. Last week we talked about peace, and patience is another fruit of the Spirit, a part, I should say, of the fruit of the Spirit. In Galatians, Paul talks about the 9 traits that make up the fruit of the Spirit, and he does refer to it singularly, the fruit, not fruits. And that is about really understanding that these are different aspects of who we are, and that it isn't something that we alone can create, that God is working through us to really help us to be whole, to really help us to be living into the wholeness of who we are. And we're not able to do that on our own. So, we might develop one, but not so much the other. And so this is being done for us, through us, within us, through the power of God, through the power of the Spirit. And so today, as I said, we are focusing on patience. And before we move into that, I just want to give another symbol for the fruit of the Spirit. For those of you who know me, you know that I talk a lot about your diamond power, that diamond within. As you can see back here, to me, this is the fruit of your spirit, right? I mean, there's different facets to who you are, just like those 9 traits are the fruit. This diamond, carries all the traits of who you are. And when any of them are smudged or have sludge on them, then we're not able to really become the best version of ourselves, the most sparkling version of ourselves, the most loving and joyful expression of ourselves. And so if you can imagine that every facet, imagine this is within you, and this is the Spirit, this is God within us, and this is our unique essence. And diamond is the strongest stone there is. So when we tap into this, when we develop those different aspects of who we are and connect to that diamond power, which is our strength, which is our connection to God, our connection to the Holy Spirit, then we really blossom and shine, and we are able to really be that beacon of light and to be that wholeness. And so let's look at peace, because peace is part of that. And so today we are going to be looking at 2 aspects of peace. The problem with peace and the problem with attaining it, and then the practice of peace. And so ultimately, as I mentioned earlier, how, really being able to develop these aspects of who we are is very challenging to do on our own. And that's why it's so important that we allow ourselves to be infused with the Spirit of God, that supernatural force that really creates miracles in our life if we allow it to. And patience, the problem with patience for most of us, myself included, this was a challenging one for me, always has been. And I've had the opportunity to practice it and develop it more. So that, I have still got my issues around patience, but I have, as I said, had the opportunity to practice it. And we're going to talk about that today too, and how you can practice it. But the problem with patience is impatience, right? Impatience, getting frustrated. As I had mentioned in the email that went out to those of you in my community today, it's about really not only being impatient with ourselves, but being impatient with others, being impatient with God. And we're going to talk about that in more depth in a few minutes. In our society, what is really creating atrocities across the board is our inability to be patient, is that impatience. And it can really lead to some of the worst things imaginable. And so let's take a look first at impatience with ourselves. Okay, so those of you who may be experiencing betrayal right now, or recently, or have not been able to let go of it, I can just honestly tell you that I have so many clients that I've worked with who are always telling me that, they're just really impatient with themselves. They don't know why they haven't been able to work through something more quickly. And when we are impatient with ourselves, what happens? We judge ourselves, right? We judge ourselves. We measure ourselves against other people, against what we feel like, is the measure that we should be measuring up to, the bar, I should say, that we should be measuring up to. We have expectations. And when things do not progress the way that we want them to, or when things don't work out the way that we want them to, we can get impatient with ourselves. And think about it. When we're impatient with ourselves, we plant a seed that if we make a mistake, what do? We don't allow ourselves to make mistakes. We're hard on ourselves. We judge ourselves. We criticize ourselves. We blame ourselves. We chastise ourselves. And we start to feel like, man, I can never measure up. I just can't seem to get it right. And then we become irritated and frustrated and, really these inflamed responses. And we have a temper with ourselves. We get angry with ourselves. And what happens next then is that can lead to a feeling of shame, that we're just not good enough. And that leads to the thought that, I'm never going to measure up. I'm never going to be able to make this work. I'm never going to be lovable. I'm never going to be whatever that voice inside of you is saying. And as we continue to beat ourselves up, what happens? Remember, a few weeks ago, we had a training around our words and the vibration of our words and how that flows in our system, and it creates, an energy that doesn't support us, and it creates a constrictive energy. And so as we're beating ourselves up, as we're having these thoughts, I'm not good enough, we're closing down. Yesterday I was on a client call, and as we were talking about this same situation, I could literally hear it in her voice. Her whole energy field was closing down. It was getting smaller and smaller. And when we become that smaller person, that smaller version of ourselves, we're never going to enjoy the life that we are meant to be living, the person we are meant to become. And we just don't live into the fullness or the greatness of our beautiful essence. And we don't allow ourselves, as I said, to become that which God intended us to be. And so, with betrayal in particular, it's my belief and my understanding, having gone through it myself several times, that it's definitely not something that we would prefer to be experiencing, but it is a way in which we have the opportunity to grow. It's the way in which God is working through us, in us, through us, to grow our heart, to grow that diamond essence, to clear the sludge off of it so that we can develop traits like patience, right? When we have patience, we're also a more loving person. And that absolutely segues into the next area that I want to chat about, and that is being impatient with other people. When we are impatient with other people, we can lash out. We can say things that really are unkind. And, if we oftentimes think that people should be doing things a certain way, typically our way, right? Because we're all human. And so if they're not doing things our way, we're holding them to that standard of doing things our way, we can get very impatient with them. We can get snappy. We can get irritated. We can get frustrated that they're not measuring up to what we think they should be doing. And we lash out and we can say things that are cutting, that are wounding, that are scarring. And the problem with that is that we can't take it back. We can't take it back. And when we're in that space, we are really absorbed in our own stuff, and we're not seeing that person the way God sees them. And so our impatience is really damaging our relationships. And again, the power of the tongue, it destroys, the verbal abuse and what that ripple effect has is something that you can't take back. And so if we are patient, that promotes peace, that promotes more love, that promotes acceptance. It's a trickle effect. And it allows us to treat ourselves better. It allows us to treat other people better. The third area that I want to chat with you about is impatience with God. And we all do it, myself included, absolutely. How many of you have said, because I know I have, oh my gosh, God, I have been praying for this. I have been asking for this. I have been visioning it. I have been seeing it. I have been grateful to you, acting as though I've already got this from you, as we are taught in the Bible. Pray as though we already have it, see it, vision it. I really want this, but it's not materialized yet. Where are you? Why haven't you given this to me yet? And we get very impatient. And when we're impatient with God, we fall out of our spirituality. We treat God, I heard this recently and I thought, wow, I never thought about it this way, but it's really true. We treat God like he's our assistant, right? I wanted this. I wanted this done. It should be done already. I've been asking for it. Where is it? Why haven't you given it to me yet? What, we treat him like our assistant. God is just like, wow, to even have that thought is so, absolutely overwhelmingly, humbling. Like, wow, who do I think I am to be thinking that way? And so what we want to come to an agreement of is that when we are impatient with God, that he's supposed to serve us, right? And our needs and what we want, then we're being destructive to ourselves, we're being destructive to others, we're being destructive to God. So the solution to all of this, the solution is to practice patience by having more compassion for yourself, having, that patience with yourself and with others. It's what I found is really helpful is to bless other people. They're doing the best they can with what they know, with where they're at. And it may not look like it to us, but we have to understand that everybody is at a different level of spiritual understanding, of spiritual consciousness. So everybody's doing the best they can. And it's up to us to have patience for where they are at, for where we are at, because we're growing constantly. Every day that we're alive, we're growing. God is working in us and through us. And if we are not getting what we want yet, or things have not manifested the way we wanted them to yet, it's because God is working through you to create a bigger version of you that will be able to step into what it is that you want in a way that will be blessed when it happens. You know, if we are not developed within ourselves to a level that aligns with what we would love to have in our life, it's not going to work. We may get it, but it'll fall apart. We're not prepared. We're not developed. And so this is, this is really important that we have that patience with God, and we keep asking, okay, God, make me understand, if this hasn't happened in my life yet, what else? Stop asking why questions. We talked about that in some of the other earlier trainings too. Why questions don't get us anywhere. We want to start asking what questions. What else do I need to be aware of in order to, have this happen in my life? Where do I need to grow? What do I need to do? Who do I need to become? Those are the empowering questions that you want to ask. And there are also questions that you can ask when you're impatient with somebody else. Who do I need to be in this situation? What can I offer? How can I serve this person? What can I do within myself to show up with more patience? What needs to change in me? And that is the practice of patience. And so we have the opportunity to practice patience every single day, don't we? Unless we're living alone and never have any, relationship with anybody, whether it be phone or, even social media, whatever, unless we're completely in severe isolation, we have the opportunity to practice patience. And even when we're in isolation, we have the opportunity to practice patience with ourselves if we're getting frustrated. But we all interact. And as we're interacting with friends, with family, with coworkers, there is plenty of opportunity for patience. And so just, put that into practice. Bless somebody if they're creating frustration for you. And this is something that you're going to do, not out loud to them, but you're going to do it silently. You're going to do it silently. And just by doing that, it's going to help you calm down and to create more patience within yourselves. And also turn it over to God, right? Because on our own, as I said, we are human, and we often are not able to bring about the patience that is necessary. So turn it over to God. God is the one that has that supernatural power that he can absolutely infuse us with patience, whatever it is that we need in the moment. But it's up to us to remember and to create a practice where we invite him into our life to help us, to really sustain us. When we talk about salvation, this is a way in which we are able to be saved from ourselves, from our frustration, irritation, is to invite him into our life to save us with his spirit, to save us with his peace. And truly, that is a gift. That is such a gift. But it's our birthright to tap into it. So we need that supernatural power to help us, because we want to live in peace with ourselves and with everyone else. We can't control other people, but we can certainly control ourselves. And so when somebody does something wrong, a lot of times we think, oh, eye for eye, or I'm going to do tit for tat. What we want to do is we want to rise above it. They talk about turning the other cheek in the Bible. It's really rising above it and understanding, as I said earlier, that people are doing the best they can with who they are, with where they're at, with what they know, and to not raise the bar for them, but to raise the bar for ourselves. How can I show up in this situation the best version of myself to diffuse this situation, right? Because remember, everything is energy. If somebody's coming at us and they're very angry and disturbed and upset and screaming or lashing out, if we lash out, if we match that energy, it's just going to turn into a cyclone. But if we are able to stay patient and peaceful, that crazy energy has nowhere to go. It's not going to be ignited by our energy. It's going to be softened. So we want to invite God's supernatural power within ourselves to help us to achieve those states. And we really can't grow without it. We can't grow without it. And so we want to just allow that energy to flow in, to practice, when we are impatient with ourselves, with other people, with God, to be aware of it, to be conscious of it, and to practice blessing, to practice inviting that patience in, and to get into alignment with it. Remembering always that God loves us. God loves us. And sometimes that's another reason why we're impatient, is when we beat ourselves up, is we don't remember that. We forget that we're really loved. And when we remember that we're loved, then we calm down. We can gain our strength, gain our courage, gain our confidence, gain that patience from that knowing that we are truly loved in a way that nobody else can love us. When we let God love us, that is a way that nobody else can love us. It's such unconditional love. And we then are able to elevate ourselves, elevate our minds, and rise above that impatience. And so the call to action for you today, if you are struggling with patience, as most of us are, and what my solution is for you is to really work with tapping into that supernatural power of God. And so my invitation to you is to download my Diamond Power meditation. You can find it at divinelovetv.com. And it is a 14 or 15 minute meditation that really allows you to tap into God's essence, God's truth, to really get you to that diamond power so that you can be more patient and show up in a way that is really who you are meant to be and become every day, and be the most of who you are. So thank you so very much for being with me today. For those of you who are on live, thank you from the bottom of my heart for being live. Those watching the replay, thank you for taking the time. And it is again my honor and my pleasure to be a guide for you on this part of your path. Bye for now. Oh, one other thing, if you haven't gone yet. Today, I have the opportunity and the honor to be interviewed by my book coach, Patrick Snow, at 12:30 Pacific. I'll put the link in the group today. It's a live interview. I'll be chatting about my book, The Sexy and Sparkling After 40. We'll be talking about how I got through my betrayal, different tips and strategies that will help you, that you can bring into your life every day, and also sharing about the Sparkle system that I created that helped me get to the other side, that have helped thousands of women who have read the book get to the other side. And I know it can help you too. So I hope to see you there. Thanks again for being with me and being a part of this community. Bye for now.